We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk, 1180, 1230 KGEO, 1410 KARI, 1000 KKIM in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and 3 times a week on the internet through knookmedia.com. We're privileged to have a very, very special guest on the phone right now, Colonel Rob Maness, who is running for Senate in the state of Louisiana. So, Colonel Maness, let's talk briefly about your run. Louisiana does things a little different than most of the states. You have, and I like the term jungle primary, but that's on November 4th, which is the general election, and there's four of you. And if somebody doesn't get 51%, then there's a runoff December 6th. Correct?
That's correct. And it doesn't matter what party the two top vote getters are in, they go to a runoff on December 6th. Right.
And right now there's 2 Republicans, well, actually a conservative Republican, meaning you, and a liberal Republican, meaning Congressman Cassidy, and you have the incumbent who's a Democrat, and then a Libertarian who's also running. Is that pretty much the lay of the land?
That's pretty much the lay of the land. The 3 most viable candidates, I would say, are myself and the congressman from Baton Rouge, and then Senator Landrieu. I mean, obviously the congressman is establishment-backed, and Mary is too on the Democrat side, so they're the millionaires in the race.
Sure.
And then I guess I'm a millionaire in the race now too, from a fundraising perspective is what I'm speaking. I've raised over $1.5 million, but we'll never get up there to those numbers without access to institutional dollars. But we're doing it through sweat and volunteers and trying to spend our money as wisely as possible and run a insurgent campaign here. So far, it's working. We've all 3 been invited to all the televised debates throughout the state, and I've accepted all of them. Senator Landrieu has, and we're just waiting on Dr. Cassidy to go and accept those debates and step up to the plate so the citizens can hear us, hear our solutions and the differences firsthand.
Now, you said here that what I understand is you're going to follow the Constitution. Why would you even think about doing that?
Well, as we talked about before, the Constitution seems to be a problem for politicians these days, and it doesn't matter whether they've got an R, a D, an I, or an L behind their name, quite frankly. So I signed a contract with Louisianans that I hand out to the folks that I'm asking to vote for me, and it's their tool to hold me accountable. And pledge number 1 in that contract is that I will use the Constitution as my guide, and will follow it in every vote I cast, which means I have to read each bill before I vote on it to make sure that it's within the framework of the Constitution of the United States.
Another issue you brought up was that you were going to live in Louisiana, not Washington, D.C. How do you do your job from Louisiana if you have to be in Washington?
Well, I'm going to be a commuter. A lot of folks commute these days between Washington and their home states. So on the weekends, I'll commute home, and occasionally my family will come up to visit me. But we won't own a home in Washington, D.C. We'll stay in our home down here because we traveled for years and years and years in the military, and my wife said after 28 moves, hey, we're not moving again. Our permanent home's here in Madisonville, Louisiana.
Okay. Speaking of commuting, I just saw an article actually in the middle of the week this week where your opponent is using chartered airplanes to commute back and forth. And this is
Yes.
a tax-funded dollars here, right?
And it's a chartered aircraft paid with taxpayers' dollars. She was in the Washington Post over the weekend talking about that. Now, I've been traveling throughout the state. I've been in all 64 of our parishes here, and I'm doing 50 town halls as we run up to the elections. And we're traveling by F-150 pickup truck. And we've spent about $9,000 of campaign money doing that. And she spends $55,000 on one trip using charter airlines, or charter aircraft. I would think that she would want to use as few tax dollars as possible on her travel, especially in the state. Because there's nothing like traveling around this wonderful and beautiful state by road.
It is a beautiful state. We're having a conversation with Colonel Rob Maness, who is running for Senate in Louisiana.
Colonel, I found it interesting that you're going to visit all 64 parishes in Louisiana. And I remember the first election Obama was in where he said he was going to he visited all 58 states. And I didn't know we had 58 states in this country.
Yeah, I seem to remember incident myself. But we do have 64 parishes, and I ran into a fellow the other day that didn't know we had 64 parishes in the state of Louisiana. So you never know where those kind of errors are going to come from.
Sure. Tell us a little bit about your Working for Us job release plan that you talked about this week.
Well, what's been going on in our country the last 6 years, and even before that, really under the last administration, is we've had big government operators and politicians try to apply big government policies and central planning to create jobs in this country. But that's not where jobs are created. Jobs are created by the 85% of industry, which is small businesses, all across this land, and that's the economic engine for that. So we want to, where it's necessary, decrease regulation where it's safe to do so that regulations enacted by the EPA don't actually kill jobs. They make the market better for job creation. That doesn't mean we want to create pollution. That means that we want to have the right level of regulations to make sure we're not polluting our lands, but at the same time, make sure that we can still have a coal industry that's running in our utility businesses, but safely, and we still have oil and gas, but doing those safely, so we're protecting the environment and those kind of things. We want to enact laws like Senator Rand Paul and Senator Cory Booker's REDEEM Act, which will allow us to expunge offenses by minors that are nonviolent, so that somebody's not paying for something that they did once or twice as a kid for the rest of their life, so we want to implement that, and those are answers to help create not an equality, but a better job market with folks that are hardworking people that just want to raise their kids right, and they want the best for their kids, and that's what we all want in America. We want things like women to be paid the same wage that a man will be paid for the same type of job. We have that law already in place. It was passed in 1963. So, the Democrats yelling and screaming about the war on women, really, it's them not insisting that our laws be enforced that are already on the books that are part of the cause of that issue.
The only place that I know of where women aren't paid the same as men is in the White House.
And it's Senator Landrieu's office, the way I understand it.
Oh, that's right.
So it's not just in the White House.
That's right. That's an old story, but I remember that. You're right. Yeah, in her office.
That's right.
That's interesting. I'd forgotten about that.
That's right. So it should be. It should be following the law as it exists. We don't need new laws to do that. So we want to make sure that we're in the right climate.
Sure. Tell us about your Freedom for Veterans concept.
We put out a Freedom for Veterans plan. You guys, I'm sure, are well aware of the latest fiasco and scandal that caused General Shinseki to resign and those kind of things. But we put out a plan before he actually resigned, calling for him to be the last VA secretary and actually start dismantling that bureaucracy, because we spend $152 billion a year on the Veterans Administration, and $57 billion of that is on bureaucracy and administration. So imagine that we actually put those funds available into the hands of the veterans and have it be common practice that they're going down to their local doctor and getting cared for, and they just give their card up, and the Treasury sends the bill, pay the bill to the doctor. So a veteran has immediate access to his family doctor and any other specialty care that he needs. And we also want to give incentives to private industry and the medical industry to encourage innovation in areas like amputee care, post-traumatic stress care, brain injury treatment, and make it easier for experimental treatments to be developed and applied and paid for by the Treasury, because that's what we promised our veterans. And we also want to, part of that plan is to have the disability decisions made before a veteran leaves active duty or leaves service, in the case of Guard and Reserve, so that we're not relying on 2, 3, 4, 5. I talked to a guy that had been waiting 9 years for a simple disability decision. because America promised these veterans that if they have a service-connected disability that they're going to get certain benefits, and that we should be putting those benefits in their hands, not in the hands of bureaucrats to decide whether over a 9-year period whether they can get a 10% disability. You know how long it takes to get a Social Security disability decision for an illegal immigrant?
It doesn't take any time at all.
About 30 days maximum.
But if you're a citizen, it takes 6 months to a year.
I just had someone close to me take 6 years to get hers.
Hey, Rob, we're running out of time, so I want you to give us your website.
Website is www.robmaness.com. That's ROBMANESS.com. Or you can go to GoManess.com. That's spelled GOMANESS.com. Or the Louisiana version, GEAUX. Maness.com, and both of them will get you there to our volunteer website and our primary website. So we appreciate y'all having us on.
And Colonel, I have to tell you, it's refreshing to have somebody on who talks about the Constitution other than as a doormat, and who's definitely pro-life. We didn't get a chance to talk about that, but maybe if we get a chance, we'll have you on before November.
I would love to do that. We put a plan out just last week called Life for Louisiana, because Louisiana is the #1 pro-life state in the nation, and I am pro-life and believe life begins at conception, and don't mind defending it, because that's our first right, our first liberty that Thomas Jefferson listed in the Declaration. We should defend it.
Amen, and we'll definitely have you back. All right. We'll be back in a couple moments on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180.